Now it's time for today's perspective on the programme. And my guest today is a man who's, crisscrossed the planet with one main aim. That aim to take the best wildlife photographs that he possibly can, whether it be Botswana, Antarctica, Venezuela, Tanzania, Ethiopia or Japan. He's been there, one of the world's top photographers in his field. You may remember we spoke to Graeme Green on the programme around a month ago about his latest collaboration, a book called The New Big Five Project. It's a real celebration of wildlife photography that also aims to highlight the crisis facing wildlife around the world. And we looked at some of the pictures in the book. And he's joining us once again, though, to guide us through some of his own photos as well. Great to have you with us once again on the programme, Graeme. We've had a bit of a discussion about this before. We're going to talk about some of the pictures. And the first one we're going to look at is one of lions in Kenya. Tell us how you took this picture and why you like it so much.
Well, yes, thank you again for having me on the show. This is one of my favourite images. It's called Lion Brothers. It shows this affectionate moment between two brothers. And that's what I wanted to show, really. I mean, lions, I think people maybe are more familiar with them in hunting mode or as these sort of scary, powerful animals. But actually, lions are facing a really hard time. They're down to, some say, fewer than 20,000 left on the planet, which is a huge shame. I wanted to show that really tender side, getting really up close and showing some affection between siblings, between the animals.
And presumably with lions as well, it gives some kind of indication about how difficult it can be, to get some of these shots, because, they can be dangerous animals to approach.
Indeed. I mean, I was using quite a big lens for that shot. With most animals, particularly ones that have got pretty big teeth, you don't want to be on the ground 5 meters away from them, as you can with some other animals. But lions, to be close to them is absolutely exhilarating. I've been just a few meters away from lions of that size when they roar, and that's something that you never forget. You can't capture the roar of a lion in a photo, but I did really want to try and get that affection, that tenderness, and to show that side of them.
Another one is the one that I can also see peering over your shoulder, that gorilla in Rwanda.
Yes, indeed. That's Mirambo. He's from the Mahosa family of gorillas in Volcanoes National Park in Rwanda. A favourite image of mine, I think. What I really like about it is that, there's a theory that the more we care about animals, the more we'll protect them. So I wanted to give the people looking at this picture that sense of being so up close to a massive silverback. I mean, that's probably 200 kilograms of gorilla, probably big enough to tear open phone directories, but absolutely a gentle giant and lovely to be in front of a gorilla. You can actually get fairly close within the safe limits. And to stand in front of an animal of that size is absolutely unforgettable. Gorillas are quite a nice animal to talk about because they're one of the few conservation success stories where people thought mountain gorillas might go extinct in the 1970s, and now we see their numbers have doubled in the last few decades. And that's due to the governments in the 3 countries where they're based doing great work. It's due to people like Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund doing great work. And it shows that conservation, if we do it in the right way, if communities are involved, then we still have animals like this for future generations to spend time with.
How do you pick your destinations? I mean, do you go to a country and then decide what you want to photograph, or do you have something specific you want to photograph that makes you go to the country, if you like?
I always have a story in mind when I go. I think, we need to travel with focus, and we need to travel with something in mind that we're going to do. So I always have a story and a target. I know what I'm going to photograph. I know what I'm going to try and seek out. And sometimes it's, a national park, or sometimes it's a specific species. Sometimes it's a specific issue. But yeah, I really go with a story in my mind.
And what makes the best pictures, do you think?
Well, that's difficult. I think we see a lot of images now. I think the main thing that we need to do is be original and be creative. In the New Big Five book that we mentioned, which has just come out, there's around 240 photos from photographers like Paul Nicklin and Steve McCurry and Amy Vitale, and they show everything from, you can see on screen just there, the elephant with the wrinkled skin, the dung beetle close-up. I think you have to always be trying to show the viewer something new, whether it's a portrait, whether it's an aerial, a hunting leopard there, incredibly rare behavior to see, one of my photos there. And I'm always trying to show something new, and also to make people care, maybe to get people captivated and interested and engaged. The New Big Five book that I mentioned is, it's about endangered species. So we want people to care. We want to get people involved and get them looking at issues like habitat loss or poaching and climate change.
Where's this come from in you, Graeme? What is it that fascinates you and makes you do what you want to do?
For me, it was very much about seeing the wildlife firsthand. I wasn't someone that really grew up on those nature documentaries or books. And I went out and I covered, one of the first stories I ever covered was vultures in Nepal and India who were dying out. And I really, vultures are massively underappreciated animal. And I really liked seeing them. They're full of character. They're much more interesting than people think. And they're essential to natural habitat. So I saw animals like that. And then I went on other assignments and saw lions, or I went to Antarctica and saw penguins. And I fell in love with wildlife. And the more you see it, the more you understand how precarious its future is and how much money of those animals are declining. So that made me care and want to get involved. That was really the idea behind the New Big Five website, newbig5.com, and the New Big Five project and the book, was just to try and do something to make a bit of a difference.
Yeah, and presumably in this time of climate change, species dying out, we're constantly hearing about as well. That is an added drive, if you like, to not force you, but to persuade you to want to carry it further.
I think that's right. I think no wildlife photographer now just likes going and taking pretty photos. I think it has to be purposeful. So I look at stories like rewilding. I look at stories like dam removals, indigenous communities and that kind of thing. We have to start looking at solutions. I love spending time with animals like lions or lizards or elephants, but it is an urgent moment now where we need to do something to protect them. So the idea with the New Big Five book was to look at the urgency of the issues, why these animals are disappearing, but also to point the way to some solutions so we can feel hopeful and maybe see a future.
Let's look at one last picture then that we're going to talk about specifically. I love this one, actually. Antarctica, this one, the penguin on ice.
Yes, I don't think many people know that penguins are surfers, but this is what I found in Antarctica. It's one of these photos. There's a thing called pre-visualization where you see a photo before it happens, and that was the case with this. I saw these penguins coming in and using what looked like a surfboard to me, and so I stayed quite a long time trying to get a photo of a penguin in surfing mode. And look, one of the most beautiful places on the planet, pristine blue water, white mountains in the background, incredible backdrop, and I just had to wait for the right moment where this little surfing penguin steps into position.
Certainly caught it. Beautiful photo. Thanks very much, Graeme. Great to have you with us on the programme once again. And just a reminder, the new book is called The New Big Five as well. So you can look that one out if you want to see even more of Graeme's pictures. Thanks very much for joining us once again.
Thank you.